Imagine a nation where not long ago 9 out of every 10 people lived in poverty. A country so broken by starvation, war, and political chaos that the world had written it off. And yet, today the same nation contributes over 18% of the entire world's GDP, has lifted more than 800 million people out of poverty, and stands as the second largest economy on earth. This is the impossible story of China. How one of the poorest country in human history became a global superpower in just 40 years. But the truth is, this transformation didn't happen because of one miracle. It happened because of a series of ruthless decisions, bold experiments, and one leader who flipped China's entire economy system upside down. This is how China rose.
Big anniversary in China today. Sumi, today marks 40 years since the country's economy opened up to the rest of the world, a move that ultimately turned China into a global economic powerhouse, second in GDP only to the United States.
Before China became the China we know today, it was known as Chonghua, the Middle Kingdom, the center of the world, a civilization thousands of years old. But greatness doesn't last forever. From the Opium Wars in 1839 to humiliating treaties to the brutal Taiping Rebellion to the Japanese invasion, China entered what it calls the Century of Humiliation. 30 million Chinese people died in World War II alone. Then came a long civil war, and when it finally ended in 1949, the communists took power. Mao Zedong declared the People's Republic of China, promising a new future. But that future wasn't what the people expected. Mao launched a national transformation called the Great Leap Forward. The idea: turn a poor agriculture society into an industrial powerhouse overnight. Factories were told what to make, farmers were told what to grow, people built small furnaces in their backyard to make steel. Except it wasn't real steel, it was a worthless metal. And since farmers didn't profit from their own crops, they had no incentives to work harder. Between 1958 and 1961, grain production collapsed by 15%. Then came starvation, a starvation so brutal that 20 to 40 million people died, one of the deadliest in human history. But instead of admitting mistakes, Mao launched a new campaign, the Cultural Revolution. Students became Red Guards, book-waving revolutionaries who hunted down anyone Mao saw as a threat. Teachers, scholars, party officials. China's history was destroyed. Millions were prosecuted. Up to 2 million people died. But among those targeted was a man who would later change everything, Deng Xiaoping. When Mao died in 1976, China was shattered. Industries were failing, people were starving, education was broken. But then Deng Xiaoping returned. He believed one radical idea. It doesn't matter whether a cat is black or white, as long as it catches mice. In other words, ideology doesn't matter, results do. China didn't need more political revolutions. It needed food, it needed jobs, it needed economic freedom. So Deng did the unthinkable. He kept the Communist Party in power, but quietly introduced capitalism inside China. He called it socialism with Chinese characteristics. And this changed everything. First, Deng reformed agriculture. Land stayed owned by the government, but families were allowed to farm it on long-term leases. They could sell extra crops for profit. For the first time in decades, farmers had a reason to work harder, and instantly production exploded. Grain output doubled in a few years. Millions escaped extreme poverty. Next, Deng targeted factories. Managers, not politicians, were given control. Factories could choose what to make, how much to sell, and how much workers earned. Incentives went up, productivity skyrocketed. Then came something even bigger: township and village enterprises. Locally run businesses that sparked a wave of rural entrepreneurship. They made everything: textiles, electronics, machinery. Even Hawaii started as a tiny TVE in Shenzhen. By the early 1990s, TVEs employed over 100 million people. But the boldest move of all, in 1980s, Deng created special economic zones, places with low taxes, fewer rules, and open doors to foreign companies. Shenzhen was just a fishing village. Today, its GDP has gone from $0.3 billion to over $400 billion. Chinese invested heavily in railways, public transport, ports, education, and scientific research. By 2010, it was spending 4% of its GDP on education. And by 2020, over $500 billion on research and development. China wasn't just copying the world anymore, it was innovating. And slowly the world realized China wasn't rising, it had already risen. But no story is perfect. Deng gave freedom in economics, but not in politics. This led to the tragic Tiananmen Square massacre in 1989, environmental destruction, and today under Xi Jinping, China is once again under strict authoritarian control. The same system that created China's miracle also created limitations that the country still struggles with today. But one thing is undeniable. In 40 years, China achieved what many nations wouldn't achieve in 200 years. And whether you admire China or criticize it, their rise reshaped the modern world. If you found this story fascinating, you will love our video on Google. Click here to watch it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.